When you ask yourself what the Arizona Cardinals' biggest Achilles heel was in 2024, I don't think it takes a rocket science to know that the Arizona Cardinals were in dire need of a pass rusher. Being the fact that Zaven Collins, your former first-round pick, was the guy that got you the most sacks on the season, and that was just 5 sacks, I think we can all agree that this Arizona Cardinal defensive line can definitely use a facelift. Will they address it in free agency, or potentially go after a blockbuster trade? Let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another video. Definitely do me a huge favor, smack up that like button and subscribe for more Arizona Cardinals content. On this channel, we're covering the Arizona Cardinals news, breaking news, conversational pieces, everything surrounding your favorite team. And just because it's the offseason doesn't mean the content ends, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to get hopefully some news coming up in January, February, but obviously the big news is coming up here in March and April with getting ready with the free agency class as well as the draft class. So definitely a lot of news coming your way, so subscribe it up. It's absolutely for free. All right, everybody, let's go and dive right into it. Let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals' biggest need heading into the 2025 offseason. And I think right now we're kind of in a situation where, okay, we got 8 wins under our belt. We doubled it here from last season from 2023 to 2024. Let's see if the Arizona Cardinals can make that next jump in, potentially go into the playoffs and potentially get a playoff win in year 3 of Jonathan Gannon / Monty Ossenfort. So what can the Arizona Cardinals do to address the biggest need they had for the past 2 years, right? Now, as of right now, the Cardinals are set to have the 4th highest in cap space in terms of throughout the entirety of the NFL. At one point, we had over $100 million, but because there were some signings that were done, and also keep in mind that maybe Trey McBride might be getting an extension. I'm a big advocate of getting in front of that because it might be a little cheaper doing it now as opposed to waiting till his actual contract expires next year. So I feel like the Arizona Cardinals can definitely very well have this cap space go down, but right now it's slated to have anywhere upwards of $82.8 million to spend here in free agency. Now, please keep in mind, the Cardinals aren't going to go absolutely wild and spend every single dollar. That's just not the way that the Arizona Cardinals do things, whether you want to blame that on how Monty Ossenfort does things or just Michael Bidwell just in general. We all know that the Cardinals right now are probably going to focus on maybe getting 2 to 3 really important key pieces that can fill a very serious role for the Cardinals. You don't build through free agency, you build through the draft. That is basically the mantra of how you build a great, sustaining, successful team in the NFL. So, the Cardinals, I'm hoping that we get 2 to 3 good price tag guys out there. And right now, I really want to focus on the edge position because being the fact that Zaven Collins, your former first round pick, had 5 sacks and he was the sack leader, there definitely is some room for potential there. Right now, before Zaven Collins got his sack in week 18, Dante Stills, former, I believe, 4th round pick in 2023, he was the one leading everybody with 4.5 sacks. So let's talk about this, right? Now, we already mentioned the Cardinals have a lot of money to spend here in this year's free agency class, but where does the free agent market land in right now, right? I don't think this is the best free agent class when it comes down to edge rushers, in my personal opinion. You got players like Khalil Mack, which obviously he was great in his time, but he's getting up there in age. You got Josh Sweat, which obviously I think he's probably one of the best guys that are coming into this free agency class if the Philadelphia Eagles don't decide to re-sign him back. Definitely very well see the Cardinals maybe potentially pursuing him if he hits the market. But then you got Hassan Reddick, which with that whole situation that was going on, I know I made a pretty big deal about the Cardinals need to reunite him coming back to the desert. He didn't really do very much in the defense, but it might be because he didn't go through the OTAs. He didn't go through all the football workouts. So that might be one of those situations where that kind of hindered his 2024 season. But as of right now, is he an Arizona Cardinal type of player? I don't know, maybe not, right? So maybe the Hassan Reddick dream has faded, but maybe not. But he's supposed to hit the market. Then you got Chase Young, which is intriguing, but he really hasn't lived up to the hype of that generational talent that everybody thought that they were going to get in the first round of the draft. So this is kind of how I feel like the Cardinals should approach this. I think the best way they can get their X factor edge rusher, because here's the thing, I'm looking for an X factor right now. I think the best player that we ended up trading for in terms of the edge position was when Steve Keim was our general manager, and he went and absolutely fleeced the Patriots over there and getting Chandler Jones with the 2nd round pick. Now, are we going to be lucky this time around? Probably not, out, right? Because the guys that I got my eyes on, they're probably going to go for a pretty penny when it comes down to giving up draft capital. Now, it depends. Do you want the Cardinals to give up maybe a potential first-round pick, second-round pick in this year's draft? Only got 5 picks in the 2025 NFL draft, so curious to figure out how the Cardinals are going to be able to maneuver this, but also keep in mind, you can also give up 2026 picks as well. But here are some couple people that I would love the Cardinals to potentially go after. You know, obviously, if you've seen the thumbnail, those are the 3 guys I really want to focus on here. One of them being Myles Garrett. Now, I get it. A lot of people look to his age and say things like, oh my God, he's old. He's not going to... My goodness, guys. Myles Garrett is a great player. Now, if you take a look at Myles Garrett's contract right now, he is signed up until the 2031 season, but there's a lot of voided out years and the guaranteed salary stops in 2024. So actually, this is the last year of guaranteed salary for Myles Garrett, but technically still signed up here with the Cleveland Browns. Now, we've heard a couple rumors here and there that he wants out of Cleveland. Now, we also heard more couple rumors that the general manager of the Cleveland Browns is going to want Myles Garrett to stay in Cleveland and retire as a Brown. So right now, it's kind of one of those things where the Cardinals are going to have to make a decision if they want to go after a potential guy like Myles Garrett. But we're talking about a guy that's going to be making a lot of money in terms of cap space or cap number. In 2025, he's going to hit $19.7 million. And then in 2026, $20.3 million. And then in 2027, $40.9 million. So this is not going to be a cheap acquisition for the Arizona Cardinals to potentially go after. But if they want to somehow get an X factor in terms of a guy that wants to actually make a playoff run or make some sort of Super Bowl run. Now, I'm not saying the Cardinals are in that space in the 3rd year, but Myles Garrett wants to be in a competitive team. He no longer wants to be in a team that's going to rebuild. So I'm curious to figure out if the Cleveland Browns are going to retain him or are they going to allow him to go away and they're going to, collect their draft capital. Because as of right now, Myles Garrett still, to the day, is probably one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Now, I get it. He's going to be aging. He's 29 years old right now. By the time the Cardinals potentially get him in the 2025 season, if they do go after him, might be 30. But he seems like a guy that's not going to be missing a beat in my personal opinion. So Myles Garrett, if they go after him, definitely very well, consider that the Cardinals probably might be doing away with the first round, second round pick. I don't know what years are going to be negotiated, but Myles Garrett is definitely a top target in my mind. I would love to get Myles Garrett on this roster. Will it happen? Probably not, but it's nice to dream, right? Now let's move on over to the next player, Micah Parsons. Now, he's probably the guy that I feel like it's probably going to be the least likely to get moved off of. I don't know. I just feel like somehow Jerry Jones and whole Jones family over there is going to do everything in their power to try to retain Micah Parsons, but he's probably the most intriguing / youngest player that the Cardinals could potentially go after, but he's going to cost much more of a pretty penny because he's younger. And right now, I don't think his contract is as, crazy as Myles Garrett is, right? In terms of what he looks like, right now his guaranteed salary is until the 2025 season, but his cap number right now is $21.3 million. So it's a lot of money for a specific player, but he produces, man. He's definitely seen to be one of the top 5, top 6 pass rushers in the NFL. So if the Arizona Cardinals were to potentially go after a Micah Parsons, I think the fan base would absolutely be ecstatic because this is a young pass rusher that's got, a lot of tread in his tires still left, and he's probably going to want to get paid after 2025 as well. So that means you're probably going to have to deal with another market, right? Setting another market, especially if he produces in 2025 for the Cardinals. So you got to take that into consideration as well. He's young. He's probably seen as a top 5, 6 rusher in the NFL right now. And you're going to have to pay maybe market after 2025 because he's due to be a unrestricted free agent after the 2025 season. So you can see this as a rental, but if the Cardinals give up draft capital in terms of the high caliber that it's probably going to take to bring him onto your roster, you're going to want to extend him for a long period of time. And this is the guy that you're going to want to extend, right? Because he's 25 and he can be a very well good player. Now, like I said a little earlier, this is probably the least likely to happen. Jerry Jones got so much money right now that it's not even funny. I feel like they're going to do something to maneuver the cap space situation, front load some contracts, and I think they're going to find a way to re-sign Micah Parsons. If I was the Cowboys, I would do that exact same thing, keep him on your roster. But like I said, right now he seems to be a potential target. I want to talk about Trey Hendrickson. And he's still doing it, man. He has 8 total seasons accrued under his belt. Right now, his last year under contract is technically 2025. Now, I don't know how the Bengals are going to approach this year's free agency class. Right now, they are set to have somewhere about $57.5 million heading into the agency, but they got a lot of players to potentially pay, right? When you're thinking of Jamar Chase, you're thinking of T. Higgins, right? They might be doing away with a lot of that money, so they're probably going to try to accrue maybe some draft capital to get some more young talent in here. I feel like the least amount of risk that comes into here, if the Cardinals somehow land a Trey Hendrickson, I feel like that would be absolutely ideal, and he's probably the cheapest right now when it comes down to it. He's got zero guaranteed salary in 2025, and right now the cap space is $18.6 million, so replicate that. We'll have to kind of wait and see. I really do like the Arizona Cardinals defense, and I mean, obviously the Nick Rallis slash Jonathan Gannon's defense, I feel like they've proven that they can have a very good scheme that can stop teams to either shut them down in the second half or not even allowing a touchdown in a game. We've seen it happen in the 2024 season. If you bring a talent like Trey Hendrickson in and bring in that X factor on the edge, that would be absolutely ideal for the Cardinals. And like I said, in terms of draft capital, this might be the least draft capital that we have to give up. His age, I know he's still doing it, but we're probably talking about somewhere around like a second or a third round pick. So I would love the idea of the Cardinals going after a Trey Hendrickson. Now, will the Bengals do away with him? It takes two to tangle, right? We don't 100% know, but looking at the fact that this free agent market in terms of edge rushers isn't the best, the Arizona Cardinals want to go after an X factor here. They're going to have to trade for one of these guys in the NFL that's proven that can do it. Now, can the Cardinals draft somebody with the 16th overall pick? Of course they can, right? But it sometimes takes a little bit for those guys to get into their own, to become that X factor, right? If the Cardinals are going to go for it, and most people feel like this is playoffs or bust or all in or bust, especially with this regime, or more Kyler Murray more than anything, might as well give him the best team possible, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are your thoughts here on these potential targets for the Cardinals to go after? Are you interested in any of them, or do you want the Cardinals to go after somebody in free agency? Let me know in the comments below. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Have a great rest of your day, and go Cardinals.